Hi, this is Alex from PHP Academy, and welcome to this tutorial on creating a back to top link that's going to float at the top of your page. Now, this might not be familiar to you, but I've seen it on a few sites, and I thought I'd recreate this as a plugin. So we're actually going to be creating a jQuery plugin as opposed to just some JavaScript jQuery code. Now, if you don't know what this back to top link involves, it involves a floating back to the top link as you scroll down the page. Now you can see that there's actually no content on this page at the moment. I've just set a large page height to the page, but you can see we've got a significant amount of scrolling area. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is scroll down, and if you keep an eye on this area just here, you'll see the back to top link appear as a sort of square, if you like. So as I scroll down, you can see that it fades in. Then when I scroll back up again, you see it fades out. Now the purpose of this is to give your users a constantly floating or fixed position link as they scroll down the content in your site. And they can just click back to top, and you'll notice that when I click this, you'll see the scroll bar jump straight back to the top, which means we're back at the top of the page, and again that will fade out. Now the clever thing about this is we're going to be creating a plugin, a jQuery plugin, and this means that we can use this widget sort of anywhere we want. We just include the source file, and then we go ahead and just activate the plugin. So if you take a look at the code here, you can see that we use the plugin just sort of simply like this. So we say back to top, which is our div here, which we're going to style as well, so we're going to be using a style sheet, and we set the position that we want this to appear. So I'm saying 1,000 pixels from the top of the document, or when I've scrolled 1,000 pixels, and then we've got a speed in which the widget appears, or the little link appears. So really we could set this to say something like 1,000, and we could set this to something like 500, and when we view the preview of that, you'll see that it will appear significantly quicker, and also it will fade in and out a lot slower. So we're going to give this some sort of customizable options as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at start styling this out and then applying the plugin. Okay, so we're starting with our blank index.html page. We want to go ahead and create a file called backtotop.jquery.js, and then we want to create a styles.css file. Now let's just go ahead and take a look at the directory structure here. You can see that we've got index.php, that's in the root directory. We've got two folders, JS and CSS. JS is where we keep our JavaScript file here, and a CSS folder is where we keep our styles. This is just to sort of keep everything organized. It's not necessary, but that's just how we're going to be working. Okay, so let's just get our document all set up. Let's go ahead and declare our doc type. And we'll start our HTML and end our HTML there. Then we'll go ahead and start and end our head, and then our body. Okay, so in head, let's just give this a short title. We'll just call it, say, back to top. And then we want to link in our style sheet. So we say link rel equals, and we're going to have an href as well. This means we give this style sheet, and href is going to be css/styles.css, which is essentially the source location of your style sheet. Now at the bottom of body, we want to go ahead and include our scripts. So script source equals, we'll just end up there. So we want to go ahead and include js/back to top.jquery.js. So this is sort of the standard notation for a jQuery plugin. Now obviously, as we are using jQuery, we need to go ahead and include jQuery itself. So let's go ahead and include that. If we just go over to our browser and over to the jQuery.com homepage, click on download jQuery, and we'll copy and paste this URL into our code. So we can paste that into there. Okay, so now we've got everything set up. We can start styling things out. We can start writing JavaScript when we want, but obviously we need to create the markup for the back to top asset or widget or whatever you want to call it. So let's go and create a div. And I'm going to give this an ID of back to top. Now the reason I'm using ID and not class is because we assume we're only going to use this once on the page. And we're also just going to create a div with no class or ID attribute, and we're just going to say back to top. So this is just going to be the text within our main container. So let's go over to our browser and click refresh. You can see that we've just got this at the moment. Now the first and foremost important thing to do is start to actually style this, then position it, and then start to use jQuery on this as well. So what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be writing our JavaScript in here. So bear in mind that we are including jQuery, including our plugin, then activating our plugin on the page. Bear in mind that it's probably best to include another script, sort of like general.js, that activates this plugin for you. But you can do it this way, it doesn't really matter. Well, it does, because your browser will cache these files rather than run them over and over again. But for the purpose of this tutorial, we're just going to do it in the page. Okay, so inside of styles.css, we want to go ahead and start styling this out. So the first thing we want to do is make the body really long, because we want to mimic the sort of scroll bar, lots of content on the page type thing. So I'm going to say height 3000 pixels. So now when we go into our browser and refresh, you see that we've got this scroll bar that we can actually test it with. Obviously this content at the moment is just staying still on the page. We're also going to go ahead and set a font family. This is sort of just for aesthetic reasons, we don't really need to do this. And we're going to go ahead and set the font size to 62.5% just to reset that. So let's select our back to top div. So back to top, we're using a hash because we are selecting an ID. We're going to go ahead and style this up now. Now we are going to include display none a bit later, but obviously we don't want to include that for now because we want it to be shown while we're styling it. So position fixed, this is just going to fix it in a particular position on the page. Now if you see I press F5 to refresh, you can see that although I'm scrolling, it's staying in this position, which is exactly what we want because we want it to be visible to the user at all times as they're scrolling. Then we're going to set a width to it, so we're going to say 250 pixels. We're going to set the background to black. We're going to set a border radius of 5 pixels. This is obviously optional, it's just to style it out. And also we're going to set an opacity of 0.6, so nearly half or nearly 50% opacity, so it's about 60%, well it is 60% opacity. We're also going to set the cursor to pointer, and this is quite a important one, I guess, because we're not actually using any A links. When we hover over our asset, we want the cursor to change to a pointer without having to have an A tag in there. So I'm going to say cursor pointer, and then when I refresh, you can see that as I hover over this, it automatically gives me this nice pointer. So that's something to watch out for. Okay, so that's it for that. But now what we're going to do is we're going to say back to top div. So we're selecting the div within our back to top element, and we're going to say text align center. Obviously at the moment it's looking a bit odd, that this is what we're doing here, we're styling the text within it. We're going to set some padding on this. We're going to say 10 pixels north, or the top, 0 pixels east, 10 pixels south, and 0 pixels west. We're going to set a font size here to 1.4 EM, and then we're going to set a color of white so we can actually see it against this dark background. So now if you refresh, you can see that we've got this. It's looking exactly how we want it to look. Obviously it's not centered in the page, but we're going to be using jQuery to dynamically do that. Okay, so this is essentially all the styling that we need to do, so I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we're going to actually start to write our plugin. Okay, so to write our plugin, we are going to need to first of all create the standard notation to actually initialize a jQuery plugin, or create sort of an instance of a jQuery plugin which we can then apply this to. So In the second part of the tutorial, we're actually going to be looking at doing that, and then we're going to start fiddling around with getting this asset here in the middle of the page. There are going to be a few things that I won't include in this tutorial that you can go ahead and work out for yourself. One of them is a browser resizing issue. If you were to resize the browser while the back to top thing is either in view or hidden but still on the page, when you resize your browser you'll have some problems. Either way, we'll go ahead and start writing the plugin, and you can work the problems out for yourself.